Hello. Hi, Lynn. How are you? And then whoever else is here, if you want to say hello, let me know you're here. Let me know what's going on. Questions or anything you'd like to share before we get started. Good morning, Stevie. Hi, Shannon. Good morning. Getting ready for our yoga practice. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Donna. Nice to see you ladies here. Lots of self-care, keeping yourself strong. Very important. Very important. Hello, Steve. Debbie Sheldon. I don't know if it's Debbie or if it's Steve. Anyway, welcome, whoever you are. All right, so just got back from the hospital, been at the hospital last night and this morning. My mother fell and broke her kneecap. So always puts me into a place of, oh my gosh, well, of course for her and what's going on with her. And then, wow, how important it is that we have balance. She fell actually. And so bringing her home tomorrow, and so the journey of recovery begins. Frida, good morning. Nice to see you here. Yeah, it's Steve. Okay, good. So we have some male representation, which is good. And Steve, today's class will be harder in terms of what we do, and I think that'll be great for you because I think you'll enjoy that. All right. So Jeannie, hi, nice to see you. It's so weird when I'm with my mom in her room. My mom's room is right across the street from where we were practicing yoga. So I actually looked out at the building yesterday and it's like so weird. You know how life is when you're not in that situation anymore. It almost is surreal. Like I really can't even believe that it's been 15 months today, actually, is today the 10th? 15 months, let me see, oh, she's my thing there. Class that I taught March 10th, 2020 is the last physical class that I taught in person. So that's been 15 months, believe it or not. That's pretty crazy. All right, good morning, Carolyn. Okay. Well, they're talking about trying to go back in person in November. They're talking about 2022 January being the real official opening of everything. They're going to try classes beginning November 21, so in a few months here. And I told them I would do a class or two depending on our structure. And I think we're going to try to do a hybrid where I will be teaching live, and there also will be the opportunity for people to practice on Zoom. That's what I would prefer, because there's people that don't live physically in this location, and we could set it up in a way that the camera won't be on anyone else other than me. So that's the ideal. And if there was the hybrid offering, then it would be definitely better for me. So I don't know what it looks like in terms of how many classes or what's going to happen. Osteoporosis is definitely something I will always be doing. So my osteoporosis classes somehow, somewhere are going to be taught. Let me see. Hi, Mary. Great. Mary, if you want to let me know if there's anything about you in particular that I should know, especially if you have any replacement parts or physical issues or limitations, things you should or shouldn't do, or big areas of concern for yourself. I'd love to know about that if you can let me know, please. Carmen, hi. Have I met you before? And Carolyn, yeah, crazy. I know. Poor thing. She fell and split her kneecap in half. And my friend, one of the ladies that takes classes, she's an orthopedic nurse. She was an orthopedic nurse for 20 years. She said it's really hard fall to break a kneecap, takes a lot. And so it's just amazing nothing else happened, although it's still a 6-week total challenging recovery with no knee flexion, means you can't bend your knee, or weight bear. And I've had a few weight bearing injuries, my hips, 2 surgeries, and then a broken foot bone in my foot. It's really, really hard to be non-weight bearing, especially if you've got cognitive issues or any kind of weakness in your body. So upper body strength is important for a lot of things. It's important for shoulder stability, which is important for balance. I'm also going to say it's really important to help us live in many other areas in case anything else happens where we lose the lower body for a little while, depending on pain or issues in our arthritis or whatever. So anyway, let me see. Okay. That's so nice, Cindy. You're welcoming Mary. And I think Carmen. Oh no, Carmen, you've been with me before. Did I ask you if I've been, or maybe I asked if you've been with me before and you said no. Anyway, a lot easier on Zoom, a little bit more challenging on chat. No surgeries, fractures, just low bone density. Okay, great. Well, then you're in the right place because this is a place to stimulate bone growth, and which is bone density, right? And more importantly, it's not just about density, it's about quality. So the stronger the bones are, the less potential for them, or the more force it would take for a fracture if you have more quality in your bones. So it's really bone quality, and that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so I'm going to go back and begin. So I would like for today's practice, I'd like you to have a block, and if you don't have a block, it could be a blanket or a towel that you roll up in a tight circle. Something so that when we put it between our legs or our arms, you can actually get some force, because that turns on the stabilizing muscles in the body. And we work a lot with the stabilizing muscles in the body because we want to fortify structure and the integrity of our structure and balance in our body. So we really want to get those stabilizing muscles activated when we practice. And then a strap, you're going to need a strap. It could be a belt from your closet, nothing fancy. And then you're going to, I'd like you to get a ball so when we stand up, we can wake the feet up. It's not necessarily if you don't have one. It is a really good thing though to start adding to your life, to put some pressure in your feet to get them to wake up. And even those of you that have some feet issues, as we age, some of us lose the fat in the feet, so it can be a little painful. But there are areas we could get to and stimulate. And so keeping stimulation in the body is going to be really valuable for your practice, for your life, for your quality of life. All right. So with all that said, you got your blanket, you got your props, you're here. And then I'd like to set a little intention. Yoga is a mind, body, and let me say soul practice. It's all of you. It's the feelings, the emotions, the mind, and the physical body. And so it's everything. So I'd like us to bring ourselves to this moment here. So come in some kind of seated position. If you can still bend your knees, bend your knees. So it would look like that. And you could even put a block to sit on so that you feel a little bit more comfortable. Or you could sit in a crisscross leg position. So whatever it is, it's to set the intention for the practice. So find what is appropriate for you. And if being in a chair is something that would feel better, then do that. And I'd like you to come to a closed eyes position or closed-eyed position. And then take your hands, palms are down on your thighs. I would say that we spend most of our lives walking through paying no attention to our body until something happens, until we have an issue, an injury, an ache, a pain, and the normal aspects of aging and some of the little tweaks or twinges that start to show up. That's when we bring our awareness to our form, to our body, to what we live in. And so bringing your awareness to your body today and being very aware and receptive of what your body tells you is the safe place to go because it knows. There's an inner intelligence that knows what you should and shouldn't be doing. And so when you see something being practiced today in class, you're going to go to the range of motion in your joints that's appropriate for you. You're going to load your bones and load your muscles in the appropriate range of motion so that you stay safe. You're going to make sure that you have that proper alignment in your joints so that when you create the force that will stimulate bone growth, it is the appropriate force for your body, for your bones. Let's take our hands, rub our hands together. The palms are touching, rub them pretty firmly, and then let the thumbs touch your sternum bone, elbows are out to the side. You have 26 spine bones. So find a nice lengthened position in your body right now. Sit up and find that alignment in your body. Lengthen the back of your neck as you slightly, maybe a 1/4 of an inch or a 1/2 of an inch movement, tilt the chin down towards the chest, lengthening the back of the neck. Turning on your inner ears and inner eyes of awareness to stay safe in the practice. Feel your feet, your legs, your tushy, your whole pelvis. Bring your awareness to the low back, the side waist, and the belly. The front of your chest, the sides of your chest, and the back of the upper back. The whole left arm, the whole right arm, your entire neck, front, back, and sides, and your head. And then gently blink your eyes open. We're going to come down onto the ground. We're going to ground our mental energy with our breath, and we're going to do a little correction in our spine because this is how we live all day long. And we are going to bring in a little bit of a supported back bend. So I'd like you to take your blanket or whatever it is. So take a blanket, make sure it's not in the short edge like this when you roll it up. You're going to roll it up with the long edge. And you're going to, for those of you that have a little bit of a stronger practice, you can go a little tighter with your rolling up. And then for those of you a little more new to the practice, a little softer with your roll. You're going to put your blanket up at the back of your mat. When you do come down, I do a little bump in my mat sometimes like this because I fill in the space of my neck, and that might be something that you'll want to do. So I wanted to show you before we go down about that. What I'd like you to do is put your tushy onto the floor. Tushy is on the floor. And then you're going to bring yourself to the side because this is an osteoporosis class, making sure we don't add flexion or put any pressure on the front spine. So being very aware of your movements always. Take your hand away from you and bring yourself down. And it's not that I want you to think you're an egg and that you need to treat yourself like an egg, because I don't think that. I do think it's important to notice the movement and the function of your body and to notice where too much pressure may be and where not enough is. So that's what it is. It's about where do we need to take some pressure away and where do we need to add some pressure. So allow that blanket or whatever it is you have to be up the center of your spine. Then we're going to bring the arms out to the side, starting to stretch some of the muscles of posture, stretch those muscles that are stabilizers for the spine and for that shoulder joint. And feel what feels appropriate to you. You could explore by raising your arms up a little higher if that's appropriate for you. If that's appropriate, keep the knees bent. Feet are wider than the body, knees falling towards each other. We're going to expand the lungs as much as possible to start to warm up the whole torso, the upper torso, and actually even lower torso as well. We're going to breathe into the 6 ranges of motion of the lungs. And this is going to help to bring some stretch into the rib cage area. So there's 6 ways the lungs move. They move up, forward, and they move backwards. They move side to side. They move up towards the head and then also down towards the feet. So we're going to work on directing our breath to those locations. I'll guide you through that. Allow your arms to rest. Let's take a big exhale. And then inhale, breathe in and forward. So you're breathing to the front part of your chest. You feel your chest rising up towards the sky. Keep the mouth closed. Breathe in and out through your nose. Make it very active and big, using the movement of the lungs to stretch the muscles of respiration, to expand and contract the ribs. Now we're going to switch. We're going to breathe in and back towards the blanket. Breathe in and back towards the blanket. And keep the eyes closed and breathe in slowly. So you're not trying to gasp your air in. You're breathing in slowly, filling your body up with breath. You feel the stretch as you go to your end range of motion with breath. And on the exhale, you feel a release of that tension created from the inhale. Breathe in and back. Feel the pressure going back towards the spine, back towards the prop behind your spine. And see if you could go in and back all the way down to your low back, the lower spine. Now you're going to bring your awareness to the sides of your ribs, underneath your armpits. And if you go a little higher, you may be able to go a little higher. Now, if you have shoulder joint issues, you may not be able to go so high. But if you go pretty high and you have the blanket behind your spine, you should probably feel a good stretch here in the chest and in the shoulders. And if you supported your head and you're not feeling too much of a stretch, lower your head. So if you did fold the blanket, unfold it, and that'll actually help to deepen the stretch underneath the armpit and the shoulder area. So we're going to go to the sides of the ribs and expand like you're getting wider, like a water balloon placed on the ground would flatten to the sides. You're going to feel that in your body. Let's prepare by exhaling. And then inhale to the sides, get wider. Then you're going to bring your awareness to the upper part of the lobes of the lungs, right by the clavicle bones. Breathe in and breathe up towards your head. Feel a lift in the upper lungs. And then go ahead, release that. Now the last one is the diaphragm. We're going to breathe down to the lower lobes of the lungs, the perimeter of the rib cage. So all the way in the middle of your torso, breathing in and down, feel your belly rise. And breathe really big so you feel stretching, deep stretching taking place when you add the breath, the deep breath. And then for these last few breaths, I'd like you to breathe into all the areas, up, back, sides, top, and bottom. Fully expand, take the deepest breaths you can, warming up your insides. And then finish up your last breath. Bring your awareness to your fingers. Start to wiggle your fingers. Start to move your hands. And I'd like you to bring your awareness, eyes are closed, bring your awareness down to your low back as you straighten one leg, if they're not straight already, and then straighten the other leg. And then if you're able to take your arms overhead, go slow. Try to keep your arms close to the ground, as close as you can. And then bring your arms overhead, stretch. Then bring your arms into a flexed wrist position so that the palms are facing the wall behind you. And the heels of the hands are reaching up behind you. Flex the feet so the toes come towards your face and slide the heels of the feet away from you, heels of the hands above you. Really stretch your body here. And then take one more breath. And then go ahead and bend your knees. Bring yourself onto the side. Stay here. Cradle your head in your arms. Stay here for a few breaths. So a lot of PT and chiropractic work now is using breath, understanding the subtleties of the deep insides warming up and needing to have blood flow and fluid flow, and how the lungs and the way that we're designed, the diaphragm at the lower ribs, pressing down, creating an intra-abdominal pressure, creating a gentle lift in the spine, that's a way to gently start to either help to correct some malalignment, which contributes to bone density loss, to posture, because that's going to be important for fall prevention and for bone density as well. And then for safety and making sure that you have things warmed up and online and receptive. When we start to do some of the stronger pressure, compressive and tensile pressure we create in the bones. Let's take your hands wide in front of you and go slow here. And then you're going to press away from the floor to bring yourself up. So I'd like you to think about it this way, especially those of you that are new to the practice, because it's a slower practice. And when we go slow, we notice more. And it's actually harder to do that. It's harder mentally to keep yourself in the moment. And it's harder physically because you're so much more aware of where you are. And so you could stay safe and you could go deep. So be very cognizant of the fact that we're going slow. And if you think about a car, when you're driving 100 miles an hour, you barely see the scenery. But when you slow down to 5 miles an hour, you see everything. So we're slowing down to 5 miles an hour to become extremely body aware so that you stay safe and you start learning more so you can actually really create some nice, strong movements for your body. Okay, we're gonna come up into our first posture of the day, which is Navasana. This is a core strengthener. The core is, for these purposes, below the ribs to where the legs attach to your body. This entire part of you is like an aluminum can. Think about a cylinder shape with a top and a bottom and sides. And you can think of activating by squeezing an orange, drawing in towards center. Let's take your hands behind the legs. Let's do a little bit of rocking on the pelvis, because this is important to understand. This is where we're going to be pulling on later. We pull on the pelvis when we do some of the postures that are specific to osteoporosis. And I'd like you to bring yourself all the way up. So you could stay here with your legs like this if it's appropriate for you, or if you could go a little bit stronger, you can come with your hands off, reach your chest up, almost like the puppeteer has a string right on the sternum bone, lifting you up. Lift your pelvic floor, low ribs move towards the spine, draw the waist in, stay here in your nice strong posture, or bring your arms to the side if that's what you need, and then go ahead and bring yourself down. We're going to come down onto the ground, coming all the way to the side again. Reach your hand away and bring yourself down onto the ground. Let's take the blanket behind your head. Let's bring one knee in and unbend and bend your knee. So be a little casual at first. And then if you'd like to be a little stronger, you could flex the foot. And if you'd like to be stronger still or more stretchy, you could straighten the opposite leg. So do what's appropriate for you. And you can even take your hand away. Let's come to the straightest leg you can muster up, whether you're holding on, whether your other knee is bent. Flex the foot, even if those two flexion is in your knees, and then go ahead, bend the knee. Hold on to the knee from the side, and then let's open the knee out to the side, bring it back to center. Open out. If you'd like to use the opposite arm for stabilization of the pelvis, pelvis is not rocking here. The only thing that's moving is the leg. We're warming up the muscles of the hip joint, muscles that will stretch. So we pull on the pelvis to create the pelvis to lay down more bone tissue. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's go ahead, put your foot down. Bring the other foot in. I want to say something. I just said bone tissue, and the other day somebody said, is bone really tissue? Like, yes, we're made of tissue. And hopefully not tissue paper. We're working towards not being, although there is plenty of tissue in our body that is nice and mobile and not so strong and dense like bones and teeth. All right, the other side, bending and flexing your knee joint. And this is for tracking, to get your joint to track nicely. It's to warm up the muscles that do this action. And then you decide whether you'd like to straighten the other leg or not, coming towards straight if you can. And then let's come to a hold. When you do hold, try to really get that nice, perfect footprint. If there was ink on your foot and you were going to make a footprint on the ceiling, try to make all parts of the foot touch the ceiling first, not just the big toes or part of the toes. And then go ahead and bend. Hold on to the outside of that knee as you open and bring it back. And the pelvis stays stable, so the pelvis doesn't move here. And then open, and then go ahead and close. Let's bring your knees into a bent position. Take the legs really wide, arms to the side, depending on what you could do. The higher up the upper arm bone is, and the stronger the flexion is in the elbow, the bend, that's going to be more intense of a stretch, and then the higher up the arms go. So you see what your body will allow you to do. The hands stay on the floor. So that's the thing. You want your hands on the floor and the arms on the floor. And then let's start to do a knees side to side. Don't let your tushy go away from the floor at first. So do this action by keeping most of your buttocks on the floor. And then you're going to start to go a little bit bigger so that the tushy cheek may come off because you're going a little bit more. And it's not about the legs going to the side as much as it is the leg that goes to the middle comes in and away from you. So you're going to bring it in towards the center and lengthen towards the foot part of your mat. So you're taking this hip joint and you're internally rotating it, and then you're extending it, coming into a no bend here if you can. So that's the goal. Hopefully you feel that a little higher in the core area and in the waist. The next time you come to the left, stay there. Let both legs go there to the left. And then you're going to lengthen the right side of your body. So push that right hip joint up towards the sky. Take the right arm, flex the right wrist, and reach the right arm away from you. Feel that length. Try to pull those lower ribs away from the top of the pelvis in your body. Feel yourself lengthening by lengthening the arm away from you when you do that, and pushing the knee away from you as you do that. Deep breaths to your belly. And then go ahead, bring yourself back to center. You're going to let the other side. We're warming up our spine and our torso. This helps for back bending and rotation, which we do quite a bit in this practice to stimulate the bones that we need to stimulate. Let's come over to the right. Flex your left hand, reach your left heel away from you, the left heel of the hand, and draw the left knee away from you. Be as long as you can on your left side. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself back to center. Let's get your strap ready. So get your strap ready. We're going to draw the right knee in. Bring your right foot close to you so you can touch your toes. I want you to be able to touch them. And then take your strap, place your strap on your arch. Slide your hands down closer to your body and wrap your hands around the strap. And your strap is in the arch. Pull the strap down so the leg gets, you feel the pressure in the floor. You're going to straighten the left leg if that's appropriate for you. Otherwise, keep that knee bent. Firm up the muscles of the right leg. Push the right leg away from you, and now draw the right leg towards the wall behind you. You have to have your knee straight. If you're going to do osteoporosis work with this posture, you need the knee straight. So if your knee is bent, push your leg away from you more so it goes straight. We need to have a straight leg because we're pulling on the pelvis. And if you bend your knee, you're stretching the center of the back of the thigh and not pulling on the pelvis. Take one more breath. And then stay here. We're going to come into the adductor muscle on this side. So go ahead and take the strap in your hand, slide your hand down the strap. We're going to now stretch the inner thigh muscle, which is attached to the pelvis, pulling on the pelvis from a different direction. So you're going to keep your leg pretty high here. Leg is straight, and then you open out to the side. For those of you, if your leg feels really heavy, you could put a block at the top of your leg to hold the weight of your leg if you need, especially if you don't have a lot of flexibility in your leg and you don't go down so low and the leg is hovering, it might be a challenge. So if you put the block up pretty high, it can help to support some of the weight of the leg. And then push into the strap, move the foot towards the wall behind you. Left leg stays on the floor when the right leg goes out to the side. Stay nice and stabilized here. Activate the core, push the belly button towards the spine. Push into both soles. So lengthen the opposite leg away from you and push into the strap. One more breath. And then you can either bend that leg or bring it back up with a straight leg, whatever is available to you in your body. Remember to go at your pace. Listen to that internal teacher, that internal knowing. So you're going to bring your left foot in. Make sure you bend your hip deeply. You bend your knee deeply. You touch your left toes. And then you place the strap on your left foot, right at the arch. You're going to take your hands, slide your hands down the strap, wrap your hands around the strap. Then if you're going to straighten the right leg, you could straighten the right leg. And then pull down to really deeply root that leg in the socket. Firm up the leg muscles, push the leg away from you, and then draw the leg towards the wall behind you. Straight leg is the key, no bend in the knee. To the place where you feel the appropriate tension at the back of your leg. And hopefully you feel it right where your leg attaches to your body, pulling on the pelvis. Deep breaths. And then go ahead and release. Let's take the strap in the left hand, slide the hand down. So bring the hand closer to your body. That'll give you the hand to help hold the weight of the leg. And then you're going to lengthen the leg out to the side. Keep the leg straight. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And then draw the leg towards the wall behind you. Press the opposite leg into the floor. Keep that leg straight. Use the block if you need to support your leg. And then push into the right sole if the leg is straight and the left sole into the strap. Take one more breath. And then either straight leg to come back up or bent knee. That's the pulling on the bones to create stimulation for them to get stronger. Now we're going to use muscles. We're going to press the bones together in a back bend shape. This is the bridge posture. One of my favorites for healthy aging. Whether or not the focus is on strengthening the vertebra, this is one of my favorite postures to do for keeping our body strong as we age. The important thing is when you do lift your body off the floor, you don't look side to side. So when you come into this, it's a back bend. You're going to keep your head in this position and focus on your breath. If you'd like to think about your lungs and all those ranges of motion, you could do that. So put the block between your legs and let's do a little gentle contract and release. So you feel the adductors, the inner thigh muscles turning on when you do that. And that's what helps to turn on that stabilizing quality in our body that is for posture and alignment, which will be very supportive of balance, the health of your balance. So squeeze that block. Then you're going to walk the feet closer to your body. Remember to go at your own pace. We're going to hold this for 30 seconds. Let's take your hands behind your head, tuck your chin towards your chest, and lengthen the back neck. Then bring your arms alongside your body. Lift your upper back off the floor as you slide the shoulder blades closer towards the spine. And if your head readjusted, lengthen the back of the neck. Tuck the chin down towards the chest. Squeeze the block. Place the feet into the floor, all parts of the feet. And then you're going to be tilting the pelvis back. It's a posterior tilt. Flatten the low back. Squeeze the block. Dig your arms into the floor and lift yourself away from the floor, one vertebra at a time. Keep going until you can't go any farther. Push your feet into the floor, squeeze the block, lift the weight of the pelvis up away from the floor. Stay here, deep breaths. For those of you that clasp, you could clasp. Fingers are open, palms are facing each other. Use the upper arm bones to help lift the weight of the rib cage a little farther away from the floor. Chin is towards the chest and the heart is moving towards the nose. Push your feet into the floor, squeeze your tushy, squeeze your block. Take one more breath. And then let's go ahead and bring ourselves slowly down one vertebra at a time. Take the block to the side. Bring the knees back into the chest one at a time and rock side to side. And then rock all the way onto your side. Cradle your head and then open up your hand. Push yourself up away from the floor. And then let's bring the blanket underneath your knees. Come onto all fours. For those with wrist issues that it's really challenging to weight bear, you can roll up the front part of your mat, and that'll minimize the bend in the wrist and be a little bit more comforting for some of you. It is recommended to weight bear on your wrists to strengthen the lower arm bones and the wrist bones. Walk your hands a little bit forward. And then let's take actually bring your right hand underneath your shoulder. Take your left palm up towards your face. You're going to inhale to rotate your trunk open. Make sure your hand is pretty far away from your knees. So if your hand is too close to your body, it's very hard to get that rotation. And then bring your hand down. Inhale and then exhale. We're warming up rotational muscles of the trunk and we're locking the pelvis in place. So moving from that lower rib area, which is where most rotation takes place. And we're also strengthening the weight-bearing arm. One more. Go slow to your range of motion. Stay here. And then bring your hand down. Let's do the other side. Take your palm, right palm up towards your face. Inhale to rotate open. And then exhale to come back down. Inhale to rotate open. Exhale down. Whatever range of motion you have, there's not a lot of range of motion and ability for that thoracic spine to do a lot of rotation. And then on this next one, you're going to come up and stay up. Stay here. And then go ahead and bring yourself down. Take your wrists, shake your wrists out. We're going to come down onto the ground and do our locust posture. So I'd like you to take your hands wide and take your hands forward. Wide and forward, pointer fingers are forward. Walk your knees back, toenails touch the floor, let the tops of the feet touch the floor. And then bring your body forward so that you're more of a stacked position with your wrists, your elbows, and your shoulders. Face, your head is looking forward, your nose is forward, and keep your elbows in at your body. Your tushy has to be forward to lower down or it'll be a little challenging. And then come down slowly if you can. So I just want to show you what happens. You need to have the tushy come forward to lower down like that, okay? If the tushy stays back here, this is what happens. You get a face plant. I see it all the time. And then if the elbows are out to the side, it's also hard to lower your body down. It needs to be that you bring your body weight forward and you lower down slowly. And I know that's hard. It's very hard. Maybe not for the boys, but for the girls it is. So keeping that upper body strength is really important. Take your legs flat, the toenails touch the floor. You come up here into your Sphinx posture. Draw your rib cage away from your ribs. So pull and lengthen your body to bring yourself all the way down onto the floor. Forehead touches the floor, nose touches the floor. Take your arms down alongside your body. We're going to come into the locust posture. This is another back bend to strengthen the spine and the muscles of posture and alignment and balance. So the arms are alongside the body, the toes are touching. You're going to inhale to lift everything off the floor. The legs, the arms, the chest, the head, everything. Try to point the soles of the feet up towards the sky. Lengthen out the crown of your head. So don't let your head be what's lifting the most. Let your arms, your legs, your upper body all be lifting at the same level. And the height you should go is whatever feels appropriate for you. Feel that strength. Feel the back spine bones pressing into each other in a back bend. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and lower down. Take one hand on top of the other. Let your legs be spread here. Let the forehead rest on the back of the hands. And then bend the knees and let your legs go side to side. Release that tension in the low back. Notice your heart rate. And then let's take your arm away from you and roll onto that side. And then use your hand. Make sure it's your hand that leads. It's pushing and your head is not pulling. And bring yourself up. So one thing about this format is that I can't see you. And so I know some that are, I've watched so many people practice, so I know movements, I know who can, who can't, where the challenges are. I try to teach accordingly, so for those of you that may be having a little bit more challenge, will find the place that's for you. And for those of you that are really strong and want to do and can do the stronger work, that you really stay in that perfect alignment place, because that's when you can create safe, strong pressure. Okay, this next posture we're going to do is the plank. We'll do it for 30 seconds. It's a very strong total body. 30 seconds is what I'm going to count for. If 30 seconds is good for you, great. And if it's not, maybe one breath is perfect, or two, or three, whatever it is. Let's take the hands on the floor in front of you, palms down, pointer fingers are forward. And then take one foot back, flip the toes under, and bring the other foot. Let your feet touch. Now, if you need to let your tushy be a little bit higher because it's too hard to beat your weights on the upper body, that's okay. Do not hammock though. Don't let your body be lower. So either be level or slightly higher is what I usually notice. Now push all your fingers and all your toes into the floor as you push away from the floor. One more breath. And then let's go ahead, bring yourself down onto your shins. We do a lot of posture and alignment work when we focus on yoga for osteoporosis, because bones don't break because they're brittle, they break because we fall. So fall prevention and postural correction are two large aspects to keeping your bones healthy, or keeping everything healthy if you have a diagnosis of osteoporosis. Let's bring a foot forward. And when you bring the foot forward, you want to make sure that your knee joint is on top of or behind your ankle joint. You want to take your back toes under. Your hands are on the front leg and the elbows are to the side, so you have a nice wide base. Inhale, and then you're going to exhale to push yourself slowly to bring yourself to a standing position. And then, okay, got to direct for this as well. So we need to take our blanket off of our mat. So you need to bend your hips, keep your back nice and neutral curve. Head is forward, looking up. And then you take your blanket and you move your blanket off to the side. And if I tell you that, if I teach you that slowly here, then you take that off the mat and you start to bring that into your life. And I know for myself, when I'm gardening, I'm so cognizant of that, where if I reach down to get something, and if I did bring myself into any kind of spinal flexion, I'll feel it in my back, and right away I'll correct by bringing the bend into my hips and taking it out of my spine. So I know it works for me, so hopefully it works for everyone. Okay, let's get a chair or a wall. So make sure you're safe. A chair or a wall. And it doesn't matter how strong you are or how great you think your balance is. When you start to challenge joints, maybe in a way that you're not used to, or maybe that day you're off, you didn't sleep as well, your mineral balance is not quite so right, your electrolytes, whatever. It's just always better to be safe than sorry. So having a chair is a good thing. And then we're also gonna have our props, so you have your ball nearby. Okay, let's come into a tree posture, since we just began without putting too much of a challenge into our leg muscles. Let's come on to palm. The feet are about 4 inches apart. And then I'd like you to bring your hands onto your waist, and your elbows are pushing back. And that brings the shoulder blades onto the back. So that's very supportive. This position here is supportive of posture, which will then be supportive of balance and alignment. Let's bring your body weight forward, so forward that you feel the toes gripping the floor. And then bring your body weight straight back in a line to the heels. Notice what happens to the lower spine. Notice what happens to the glutes. And then go forward and back. Pay attention to those feelings in your body, that weight distribution. Bring yourself back to center. Go side to side. And feel right where you get that contraction, that deeper contraction. Your body tries to protect you from falling. And then bring yourself to a neutral. Okay, so bring your body weight over to the left foot. Come onto the left foot, and then come onto the right tippy toes. Left foot, right tippy toes. Left foot grabs the floor, and then take the right knee out to the side. Bring the left foot in between the ankle and the knee. So make sure that your heel is not pushing on the inner side of the knee joint. That's important. Then push your foot into the floor. Get nice and tall. Activate your core. So a really good one for that is, imagine you're a tube of toothpaste and all the toothpaste is in your tummy area, and you're going to squeeze the toothpaste up underneath your ribs into your chest area. Squeeze your toothpaste in and up and lift your chest. And then let's bring your leg forward. We're going to come to the other side. Grabbing the floor with the foot, body weight over to the right side, come onto the left tippy toe, knee to the side. Bring your foot in between your knee and your ankle. And your chair is there if you need that. So the chair is there, and you would need to switch sides if you were going to use the chair, if you needed to have the chair to rest on, or be near a wall where you could rest or get some support. Grab the floor, push into the floor to get as tall as you can. Your torso is like a tube of toothpaste. Squeeze the toothpaste up and underneath the ribs, all the way up to the upper chest area. Take one more breath. And then go ahead, let's bring yourself out. So let's take the ball. If you have a ball, I'd like you to just take a ball and rub the ball all around your foot, so that you just bring on a line, anything that we need to wake up. So this is if you have a ball, and a little bit of squeezing the top of the ball up and down the pinky toe edge, over the heel, and then in the arch. And then let's do the same thing with the other foot. It's actually a really great thing to have a ball warm up with our feet every day, probably. Starting our day with this would be great. Kind of like, you need to brush your teeth and you need to put a ball on your feet. So you got to wake up your feet, brush your teeth. Floss your teeth, floss your toes. All right, just wherever you can. Nothing has to be done in particular here. Come to the top so that you actually activate muscles in the feet. There's a lot of foot work aspects of the practice that we do. Go on the pinky toe part, the heel, the toes, the arch, and then take the ball and move the ball away. Hopefully you feel a little tingling in your feet. Let's take our feet, flip the toes under. You may need to step back pretty far for that, depending on your range of motion in your joints, your flexibility. And then do the same thing with the other side. And then bend the toes. So we're going to come into the triangle posture, and triangle, let me show you the triangle. So the triangle posture, this is it, the legs are straight. So for those of you that are new or not quite as limber, you want to make sure the spine stays nice and straight. So you may need to be a little higher with your posture. Some of you can go down onto a block and still maintain that nice linear fashion of the spine. You want to make sure this is not happening. There's not a bend in your spine. And so it doesn't matter where you go because it's all great and effective. It just needs to be the right position for you. So if you think you need a chair, have a chair handy. And if you know that you need a block, then have a block handy. Of course, there's always the back of the hand on the lower leg. That's great as well, as long as you can maintain the integrity of your alignment and posture. Take your heel in the floor, pick up the toes, turn the toes away from you, and then lift the back heel away from you. Firm foundation, grab the floor, activate the back foot by lifting the arch off the floor. Bring your shoulders forward, up, back, and down. And then inhale, lift the arms. Reach your arms away from you. Pelvis goes the opposite direction, and you're bending, flexing right here in that front hip joint. And then you bring yourself down, wherever that is for you, keeping your spine nice and long, and then rotate your trunk forward. So there's a lot of flexion, and there's even rotational force here. Keep your spine long, so push into your block or your chair, lengthen your spine, and then rotate your spine. Feet push into the floor strongly and draw that strength up into your pelvis. Take one more breath. When you come up, keep your legs straight and bring yourself up, allowing the obliques, the core muscles, to do their work. Now, if you need the chair, bring the chair with you. If you're using the block, you could bring the block, place the block on the ground. So either get up and move the chair if you need to, or the block. Toes are pointing forward. You're going to pick up the toes, heel is on the floor, point the toes away from you. Pick up the back heel, move the back heel away. Press the feet into the floor. You draw that energy. Feel that pressure as you push down and you rebound to activate here. Shoulders are forward, they're up, they're back, and they're down. You're going to inhale your arms, so with a little tension, and then begin to reach. Start to flex at that hip joint. And then when you can't go any farther, you bring yourself down, straight spine, bring yourself down. Either on the chair or on the block, whatever is the appropriate place for you. Press your feet into the floor and draw that energy up, and then rotate, turning your torso forward. Take one more breath. Keep your legs nice and straight as you bring yourself up. So we're going to come into Warrior Two and side angle. And so the wide stance is preferred because we're taking this ball in the socket and we're putting many different angles and forces of pressure in those angles. And that's how we stimulate bone growth, is wherever you apply the force of pressure, the bone gets stronger in that line. So we want to create as much bone strength and quality as we can all around the top of the femur bone, the neck of the femur, and the acetabulum that we're pushing into. So we want all of these different areas. And so coming into this wider stance and then weight bearing in that, that's something we don't do in our normal life, right? We're not walking around and doing things mostly. So this is our opportunity to do that. If you need a chair for balance, have a chair in front of you. And then if not, then that's fine. So let's come into that wide stance, same foot position as we did with our triangle posture. Feet are together. You decide which side you'd like to go to first. Let's lift your foot up, turn your foot away from you, pick the heel up and back. And then put a little bit of a bend in the legs so you can get a little soft and have a little play in your pelvis here. Shoulders are forward, they're up, they're back, and they're down. Lift the chest up. And then push away from that back foot. The back foot stays straight. You start to bend the front knee, bend the front hip. Keep your pelvis on top of your torso. Don't let your torso go forward. Keep your torso there. Push away and load into the joints. Go as deep as you can. If you need to walk that front foot forward, walk the front foot forward. Press the arms back. Lift your chest. Strong warrior position. Deep breaths down to your belly. Really push the feet into the floor. Feel that rebound strength that comes into your pelvis. Push your arms back. Lift your chest. Squeeze the toothpaste. Take one more breath. And then slowly unbend. Let's bring yourself up. Bring the toes into the opposite position. Toes point away, heel moves back. Slight bend. Press into that back foot. Shoulders are forward, they're up, they're back, and they're down. And then you inhale, pushing away from that back leg. Bring yourself into your strong warrior. Load into the joints in whatever's appropriate for you. Lift your torso, lift your chest. Look over those front middle fingers. Push down and lift up. Make sure you don't have shoulder earrings, so lower the shoulders, reach the fingers long, push them back. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself out. We're going to come into the side angle. So if you can go pretty low here. Now let me say something about this, okay? Because I observe this. I teach a lot of privates and I teach a lot of Zoom, so I see people in action. Now when we come into this side angle position, right? Saying side angle is warrior 2, and then you come into side angle. And it is the torso is still growing out of the pelvis, staying in its nice linear fashion, and there's a deeper hip flexion here. So this is side angle. And then for those of you that could go a little lower, usually it requires more bend in the hip and the knee. What I observe is people are so caught up in going down that they're here and they take the integrity of the spine to come down onto the block, but they've lost this. And there's no deeper bend in the hip and the knee, which is where it should come from. Okay, so please pay attention to your practice, okay? Pay attention to yourself and your practice and what you're doing to keep yourself safe. Lower is not better. Lower is necessary for those that have a greater range of motion in their hips and knees. So anyway, all right, stay safe because I can't see you and that's important to me is that you're safe. Safety is the most important aspect of this practice. Yes, we want strong bones, strong joints, strong ligaments, and all of that, but we want to be safe when we're doing this. And so toes are forward. We're going to come into the side angle. Lift your toes up, turn your toes away from you, heel away. So same foot position as our triangle, same foot position as our warrior 2. Start to bend that knee, bring your arms up and back to arrange your shoulder girdle where it needs to be, and then push down to load up into your warrior 2. From here, bending at that hip, you're going to come into your side angle. Arm is up. If you use the arm here, and then make sure you're not collapsing into this, so push and lift away and rotate forward. If you can go lower in your hip and your knee, lowering your pelvis, you can come down onto a block safely. Deep breaths. Push your feet into the floor, draw that energy up into your pelvis, lengthen your spine, rotate your spine. Lots of force in the hip, in the pelvis, in the spine on this one. Take one more breath. And then to bring yourself up, bring yourself back up to your warrior two, and then bring yourself out of that. Get your block if you're going to be bringing your block. Head is up when you move. Feet are forward. Lift your toes, turn your toes away from you. Pick up your heel, move your back heel away from you. Shoulders are forward, they're up, they're back, and they're down. Arms come up, and then slight bend in that knee. Activate that back leg, load into your hip and your knee in your warrior two, and then add that bend to come into that warrior side angle. And then, of course, for those of you that come to the block, you need to go lower in your hip joint. Using the arm on the block and the arm on the leg to help with that trunk rotation to create the stimulation in the spine. And smile. Go lower if you can. Load up those joints a little more. Push your feet into the floor and lift your body. So even though you're in this deep bend and your weight is down, push into the floor and then lift your weight up without taking that flexion out of your joints. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bring yourself back up and then all the way out. All right. Let's bring your feet and shake your feet. And then hopefully you could feel all of that pressure in the feet. Lots of footwork when we do this, grabbing onto the floor and then supporting your body weight, especially if you do it with a lot of awareness. And then flip your toes under, stretch your feet. We're going to do one more standing posture. So let's go ahead and grab the block. And you're going to put your block between your legs. So we did this on the ground and we were our bridge posture and we were squeezing, turning on the adductors, getting those stabilizing muscles working. I'd like to do the chair posture. I'm going to turn to the side to show you. So this actually is bending at this joint right here, the hip joint, and the knees a little bit. Okay, so the knees and the hips. That's what happens. So squeeze your block, push your tushy back. And I can't see you, but you're going to need to be your own inner teacher. You're going to tap into that own inner teacher. I'm going to tell you what I notice, often what I've seen and observed, that many are doing this. They're bending their knees forward. If you look at my tushy stays here. It doesn't even move. And I want it to go back. So I want you to push your tushy back. I want you to bend your hips. When you go like this, you're not bending your hip joint. And we want hip flexion more than knee flexion. All right, take your arms forward. You need to look up and keep your throat up. Let's push the tushy back, bring the arms forward, and then bring yourself back up. It's a great way to practice bending. This is how you need to bend down for things. This is how you bend to garden. And you probably feel your glutes right around now. You're really working the biggest muscle in your body, the glutes. And then let's come down and stay down in our loaded up posture. Push your hands together like you're holding a block in your hands. Squeeze your block. If you can push your knees back a little bit, lift your torso up, great. If you could go deeper and that feels appropriate for you, do that. And if it doesn't feel good, don't. Deep breaths. Take one more breath. And then let's go ahead and stand up. Take your legs a little wider than your body and sway back and forth side to side. Let your knees bend. Feel the weight going on your body. Even letting a little bit of the hip come forward, the other hip coming. So I guess it's like a figure 8. To stretch out those hips. Sometimes I put the hands here to accentuate. This is moving up and back, up and back, up and back. rolling around or dancing around in your hips. All right. So there is one more posture, and that's Shavasana, which is the favorite of most. Shavasana is that final rest position. So go ahead and bring your blanket on the floor, and then any other props that you'd like to use. If you'd like to put blankets under your knees or pillows under your knees, legs up the chair, legs up the wall, whatever is appropriate for you to come into your final rest. And there's no real rules about final rest other than you got to let go, let everything go. It's integration, allowing everything to settle and to integrate. So do whatever is appropriate for you. Stay here, stay with your breath. Try not to go to what comes after this, because that's not actually real yet. Don't go to tomorrow or yesterday. Stay in today. This is the practice of human being versus human doing. This is your chance to be. Begin to deepen your breath. Start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Roll your ankles, your wrists. And then draw the knees into the chest, rocking side to side. You're going to bring yourself all the way onto your side and then push yourself up to a seated position, where we're going to close the practice. Try to keep your eyes closed. Bring the hands together, thumbs touching the sternum bone. Bring your awareness in your body, noticing how your body feels. Did you stay in the safe place? Do you feel good? Do you feel that it was appropriate what you did today? Just listening to your body and noticing. We'll close the practice today with a sound, a humming, a So let's prepare by taking an exhale. Take a big inhale. Bowing in gratitude. Namaste. Well, I would love to hear from some of you, especially the newer people to the practice, how that was, how you're feeling. You're welcome, Frida. Great, Donna. Nice to hear that. So good to have you back, Donna. Hope that there was no loss for you in whatever time you took off. It's amazing how quickly that does happen. What do we call that? Gosh, what's the word for that? Atrophy. Kathy, so good to be back. So good to have you back. And thank you, Donna. Thank you, Cindy. Good. So Mary and Carmen, I hope you're still here. Hope I didn't lose you during that process. I know nothing about you, so I know nothing about your abilities. I try to teach to everyone, and it really depends on where you are. In person, it's probably a lot easier for me to integrate people that are new into a class to make you feel really comfortable, because I can tell who's got that stronger practice, more flexibility, and I can also tell who's in more of a precarious place, whether that's with balance or alignment or even in terms of the practice. So, okay, Carmen, great. Okay, that's great to hear. And Mary. Oh, great. I love that. Yeah, Mary, I give a lot of instruction. Sometimes I want to say, shut up to myself. But honestly, I don't know if you know this about me, but I have a total hip replacement that I had when I was 51. And I had to spend years of learning to be safe and staying safe. And because I've had such a big issue in my body, safety is the most important thing for me. And when I put myself back together, it was slowly but surely. It was safely. And that's my most important thing. I want you guys to strengthen your bones and create stimulation in the safest, strongest way possible. So, all right. Okay, great, Carmen. So really nice to have you here. And then Jeannie, yeah. Okay, good, strong class. It was strong. So for the newer people, there definitely was a lot more strength in today's class. I came in today's class knowing I was going to do strength because for those of you, I think you all know this now, but my mom fell and broke her kneecap on Saturday. And I've been in the hospital this whole week with her. She's coming to my house tomorrow. And just knowing what's ahead in store for her in terms of rehab and then building herself back up, just whatever we could do to prevent, to be in the best case scenario. She didn't fracture her hip or anything or her pelvis, which could have happened if she was fragile and feeble. But, you know, I mean, we'll take the kneecap. But anyway, so my goal is for us to be strong. And of course, we're going to break things. We are, but we're going to try to not be. Thank you, Carmen, for saying that. You've done Fishman's yoga. Yeah, well, I'm trained by Dr. Fishman. And so a lot of these poses are the ones that were proven in his study. And I like to use proven, he chose poses that are not his. He doesn't own them. They're yoga poses. But I use a lot of Dr. Fishman's work because he's a physician and I feel really safe using his work. You're reading his book. Okay. And then Mary, you'll see a lot of the postures